School in 1970s. America was a completely different world. No smartphones, no internet, no Google, and definitely no shortcuts. It was a time when students relied on chalkboards, textbooks, and their own memory to get through the day. Life inside the classroom was simpler, stricter, and in many ways tougher than what students experience today. But at the same time, it had a unique charm that many people still remember with nostalgia. Walking into a typical American school in the 1970s, the first thing you'd notice was the classroom setup. Rows of wooden desks, a large chalkboard at the front, and a teacher standing with chalk in hand. There were no smart boards or projectors. Everything was written by hand. Students copied notes directly from the board, often as fast as they could, because once the teacher erased it, it was gone forever. There were no screenshots, no recordings. If you missed it, you missed it. Teachers in the 1970s were known for being strict, and discipline was taken very seriously. In many schools, corporal punishment was still allowed, meaning students could actually be paddled for misbehavior. Talking back, skipping homework, or breaking rules could lead to real consequences. Respect for teachers wasn't optional. It was expected. Classrooms were quiet, structured, and focused, with very little room for distraction. School supplies were simple, but essential. Students carried notebooks, pencils, erasers, and maybe a few colored pens if they were lucky. Trapper keepers and fancy backpacks came later, but in the early 70s, it was all about basic organization. Textbooks were shared and often reused year after year, sometimes filled with notes from previous students. Libraries were the heart of research. If you had a project, you had to physically go and find books. There was no quick search bar to save you. One of the most interesting parts of school life back then was the absence of technology. No calculators in early years, no laptops, no internet. Math was done by hand, essays were written on paper, and mistakes meant starting over or carefully erasing. Students developed strong memorization skills because they had no other choice. Everything from spelling tests to history dates had to be stored in their minds. Recess was one of the highlights of the school day, and it looked very different from today. Kids played outside, no phones, no screens, just pure physical activity. Games like dodgeball, tag, hopscotch, and jump rope were incredibly popular. Boys often played sports like baseball or football, while others simply ran around and created their own games. It was loud, energetic, and full of life. That outdoor freedom is something many people say is missing today. Lunchtime was another memorable part of the day. School cafeterias served simple meals, things like meatloaf, mashed potatoes, milk, and desserts. The food wasn't fancy, but it was filling. Some students brought lunch boxes from home, often metal boxes with popular cartoon characters printed on them. Sitting with friends, trading snacks, and talking about life was a daily ritual that built strong friendships. Fashion in schools during the 1970s was also unique. Depending on the school, some students wore uniforms, but many public schools allowed casual clothing. Bell-bottom jeans, colorful shirts, and simple sneakers were common. Hairstyles reflected the trends of the time, and self-expression started to become more visible compared to earlier decades. Still, there were rules. Nothing too distracting or inappropriate was allowed. Another big difference was how students communicated. If you wanted to pass a message, you wrote a note and passed it quietly during class. There was no texting, no social media, no instant communication. Friendships were built face-to-face, conversations happened in real time, and rumors spread the old-fashioned way by word of mouth. Homework was a regular part of school life, and it often required real effort. Without the internet, students couldn't just search for answers. They had to read, think, and solve problems on their own. Parents played a role too, but ultimately, students were responsible for their work. This built independence and problem-solving skills that many people still value today. School events were also a major part of student life. Things like assemblies, sports games, and school dances brought everyone together. Pep rallies were full of energy with cheerleaders, music, and school spirit on full display. These events created memories that lasted a lifetime and gave students something to look forward to beyond academics. Transportation to school was simple. Most students either walked, rode bikes, or took the classic yellow school bus. There were fewer cars and less traffic compared to today, and many kids had more independence when it came to getting to school. That sense of freedom was a normal part of growing up, but it wasn't all perfect. Schools in the 1970s also faced challenges. Rules could be strict, teaching methods were sometimes outdated, and not every student thrived in that environment. There was less awareness about learning differences, mental health, and individual needs. Still, for many, it was a time of structure, discipline, and strong life lessons. What makes 1970s school life so fascinating is how different it feels compared to today. Modern students have access to unlimited information, advanced technology, and more flexible learning environments. But with that comes distractions, pressure, and a completely different set of challenges. Looking back, school in 1970s, America was about simplicity, discipline, and real-world interaction. It was a time when learning required effort. Friendships were built face-to-face, and every day brought small but meaningful experiences. It may not have been easier, but it was certainly different, and in many ways unforgettable. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and share. What do you think? Was school better in the 1970s or today? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more amazing American nostalgia content.